you have some characters. You've started melding a story in your brain, but you don't know how to connect them. You don't know how to create dynamics that your audience are gonna squeal over. They're gonna scream. They're gonna flail their limbs. So, how are you supposed to do that? I'm gonna tell you right now. Welcome to class. In case you're unaware, in case you're stumbling into this classroom / YouTube channel for the first time, my name is Bridget and I am going to be your teacher for today. In today's lesson, we are covering character dynamics. Specifically, we are looking at the season 3 dynamics of Doctor Who. And in this video, we are going to be taking a walk through the dynamics that are covered in the season, and also where I think the storyline could have been improved, because that's just what I do. And I'm gonna talk about it. I love the show, but you know what? Yeah, it annoys me. So this icon, I don't know if you can see that, Martha Jones, deserved better. Yes, we're going to be walking through all of these dynamics, plus one more that I forgot to print. So, whoopsie. Character dynamics are the backbone of your story. Really, they're where fans and readers, your audience, become like rabid fans. We all get connected to certain dynamics. That's when shipping happens. That's when all the craziness happens. That's when the edits start appearing, for Pete's sake. Okay? So, yes, they're very, very important. But it is tricky to make dynamics that actually work. Ones that serve your story. And that is very important. I feel like using this spoon is going to become like a second limb. It's like I'm just casting spells on you. Sometimes in my own writing process, I do like little blurbs. I do like character A plus character B. This is their character dynamic. And then character A plus character C. That's their character dynamic. But you know what? This is more fun. This looks more visually appealing. And sure, like, you don't have anywhere to write shit, but you know what? You get my voice. So, whatever. You gotta deal with it. I'm not gonna... I spent some time on this. And I'm pretty proud of it. So, all the dynamics I'm gonna be talking about all connect back to Martha Jones, the queen, the icon. I love this photo. Yes, so we have Martha's family right here. We have the Jones family. And yes, Martha is descended from Lady Danbury, cause yes. And then we have the Tardis trio, which is Martha, the Doctor, and Jack. We're also just gonna be talking about this dynamic right here, this whole shit show. Yes, these two. Oh boy. And then we are going to be talking very briefly about this whole debacle. I kind of have to, honestly. It's a two-parter. It takes up like a whole 2 hours. That's the whole rundown of everybody. I'm going to get more into it and we're going to look at every single little line. But yes, we're going to be studying these guys. And this will be looking at creating a character arc for Martha that would have given her more of a dynamic character arc. It would have given her more progression and not just like a progression right at the end. And honestly, I do not like this. This disgusting. To recap, season 3 comes off the back of Doomsday and Runaway Bride. So the Doctor, aka my public enemy number 1, is still really pining over Rose. And for this, doesn't really matter if we're following the trajectory of my rewrite from the last video, because yeah, he's still pining. So it's kind of just, yeah, he's the same. He's a self-centered asshole. So yes, we're keeping his behavior pretty much the same. We're really only we're only adjusting Martha's reaction. So, yes, the Doctor's still pining over Rose, and is simply wandering around time and space on his own. Yes, so he's on his own at the beginning. His behavior towards Martha, why? Why? I don't get it. Okay, now, moving on from me just ranting about how terrible the Doctor is in season 3, we're gonna dive in. We're gonna look at, starting with the biggest part of this whole map, we're gonna look at the Jones family. And we're gonna go chronologically at first, and then like we're gonna go through each section, and then loop around and go again, and then go again. So, the Jones is really just, there's most of them, basically. Okay, so the Jones family are really hectic. When we first meet Martha, she's like walking down the street. She's having a good time. She's going to work. And pretty much like the first 3 minutes of when we meet Martha, she's on the phone. She's talking to her family. So the first introduction we get is Tish. Tish is the eldest of the Jones family. She is the eldest daughter, and Martha is the middle. And so these two start talking about their parents. And we get the introduction of Tish, that she is really the grounded one of the two. Martha is really like, yeah, she's a dreamer. She's having a good time. But she's also the one that all of them turn to. So once she hangs up with Tish, she gets on a phone call with Leo, I think? Yes, she gets on a phone call with Leo, and they're talking about, like, all this conversation is about Leo's 21st birthday, and Leo, this man doesn't really have a lot of importance, and I decided to put in Leo's, ominous partner and child. They only appear in, like, 2 scenes, and they're always in the background. I don't even know if you guys can see this very well, actually. Should I go on the other side? I feel like it might be better. So, yes, we have Leo's ominous child and partner. I don't know. And so Leo is the youngest. He doesn't really have much importance, and he doesn't really appear a lot. So, and he's just kind of like, whatever, don't tell, like, get them to stop fighting, Martha. And then, I'm not going to be shifting a lot, because I don't know if you guys can see this very well. After she hangs out with Leo, she goes and she picks up the phone to her mother, Francine, aka Lady Danbury. So we have a conversation between these two, which we get the introduction of Francine, and she is very passionate. Let's put it, she's very passionate. And we get the establishment that Francine and her ex-husband are divorced, and Francine is annoyed that Clive, one of those, is going to invite his girlfriend, Annalise, to the party. And she doesn't like Annalise, because she's weirdly, like, very, very young and just a gold digger situation. And so, yes, it doesn't last very long, and then she picks up the phone with her dad, and it's just a whole family drama. And yeah, we get the establishment of all these characters, and then I'm gonna jump ahead, because we don't see the Jones family much throughout the episode. We really only get one phone call in the episode between Martha and Tish right before the hospital gets sent to the moon. And so we get more of these two together, which I'll get back to later because I really wish they had more of Tish. And so we have Tish and Martha talking about the party and trying to come up with a plan. So we have Tish still being the grounded one. Martha's really making some jokes. We have Tish trying to bring Martha back down to earth, which is a theme that I'm going to bring up later. So keep that in there. Martha gets sent to the moon. She meets the Doctor and blah, 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 blah. We'll get back to that later. And when they get back to earth, we get to see these guys again. So we're going to jump to there. We're going to jump to Leo's 21st birthday party. Martha goes, even though she has just been to the freaking moon. And so we have this whole glorious scene of family drama. The scene starts with Annalise storming out, and followed by, I gotta remember his name, Clive. It's Clive, not Clyde. That's the kid from Sarah Jane Adventures. So Clive follows Annalise out, followed by Francine, followed by the kids. Not followed by Leo's partner and kid. I don't know where they are in this scene. They stayed inside. We get the introduction that Francine is very protective of Martha, and we also get the introduction that Leo sides with Clive, and that Tish sides with Francine in most family debacles. And Martha's just trying to, like, be the peacemaker, man. It's hard. These guys just want to fight. And so, yeah, that's the main thing we get from Smith and Jones. And now we're going to jump ahead again. We don't see these guys for a while. Martha is off with the doctor, and after doing a few adventures, she comes back. And we have the Lazarus experiment. Now this episode, oh boy, it is the lowest rated episode of the entire season. For good reason. The CGI, it was, what, 2007? Something like that. And it was rough. It was, yes. So in this episode, we get these three back. We do not get Clive or Annalise. We really actually don't see Annalise again. We never see her again, which I don't know why I printed her out then, but don't worry about that. Yeah, so we get all three of these guys back for the Lazarus experiment. And Tish now is working for this big company. And so they get to go to this black tie event, and they meet the doctor. This is the big thing. So this is when I have these lines. We have these lines from Francine up to the doctor, and we have the lines from Tish up to the doctor. Leo doesn't have any impact again. He doesn't do anything. So I just kind of left him there. The Jones family men, kind of useless. They don't really do anything. Now with these characters back, we can start to talk about an actual character arc for Martha. Up to this point, we just had an unrequited love arc for her between her and the doctor, and now I am ready to get out of that. So that's what we're gonna do. The Lazarus experiment is the beginning of that, and I am looking to Tish to rescue this character arc. Francine, she does her part. I respect her for it. But Tish, with the introduction she gets, girl could have done more. We get the introduction between these three and the doctor. We get that, and yeah, they're suspicious. Francine is like, we've never met this guy. Why do we trust him? He's kind of weird. And yeah, fair enough. Francine is an icon, and we love her. We love Francine in this house. We stand Francine. We get the beautiful moment of Francine slapping the doctor, which, thank you, Francine. I appreciate it so much. They witness all the, like, shenanigans. They witness Martha going back in to save the doctor and, like, risking her life and all that. And one thing I think they could have really leaned into is how damn toxic the doctor is in this season. Because the way he treats Martha, not okay. And I think they could have done something really interesting, because these three have an outsider point of view. When you have these two off in their own little bubble, they're on their own little dynamic thingy. These three are not connected at all. So they're looking at the doctor, they're going whoop, they're looking at him like, who the heck are you? Who the heck are you to talk to her like that? When you have outsiders, use them. They have a fresh point of view that someone like Martha, who, yes, icon, queen, but a little bit tunnel vision. She's got her rose-colored glasses on, pun intended. But yes, she is blinded by infatuation. When we have the reintroduction of these three, that's when we can introduce more conflict, which, more conflict is what this story needed. We've already established that Tish is the down-to-earth one and Martha is the head up in the clouds. So when they come back and we get the beautiful slap from Francine on the doctor, I need to stop hitting this. We get the beautiful slap from Francine on the doctor, and Martha and the doctor run off again. Tish follows, same as in the episode. But in this version, we have a teeny tiny little scene. We have a little snippet where the doctor and Martha have a little conversation, and we get even more of the toxicity of the doctor, and it's amped up because it's shown through Tish's point of view. We get Tish overhearing a conversation between the doctor and Martha. And since they're alone, the doctor just doesn't hold back. And Tish is like, who is this? Why is my sister letting him talk to her like that? And so Tish still goes and helps them, but she is disgusted by this. And yes, this is a big thing to happen. We get an outsider view on how the doctor acts towards Martha. It's even worse than we thought. And since the companion is always the eyes for the audience, we discovered that we haven't really been seeing it fully because we see it through Martha's eyes. She's like, oh, it's not that bad. So we run through the rest of the episode, and near the end of the episode, we get a little conversation between these two. And Tish expresses that the doctor does not treat Martha very well, and she's concerned and really points out some big things for Martha. Now, this wouldn't fully wake Martha up to the situation because, you know, she's infatuated with the doctor. She doesn't want to believe all that Tish is saying. She doesn't want to believe all the things like that he's really not treating her well and that he won't, like, you know, come around. So she might, like, lash out. She might do something. Like, she might fight back against it. Like, she won't be mean, but there's got to be some pushback. And she still leaves with the doctor. But this is very important because Tish points it out to Martha, and that's what begins her journey of letting go of this unrequited love storyline. Now, we're going to talk briefly about 42. One of the, again, it's like one, the lowest rated episode, and then another crappy episode. So 42, we don't really get much of the Jones family. We get 2 phone conversations between Martha and Francine, but I don't really feel like they need to change much because it's not really like character arc stuff. It's just establishing that Francine is now being manipulated by Harold Saxon, aka the Master. But yeah, it's mainly like this whole episode would just shift in a little bit of subtext and a little bit of character action, because at this point Martha is already thinking about what Tish said and she's starting to analyze how the doctor treats her. And yeah, she's starting to turn it. The gears are starting to move. She's not dumb. She is a smart girl. But she needs a minute. She needs a minute to let go of this. So that's what 42 in this would be doing. It would be the, like, we're getting ready. We're going. It's happening. Now this is the last time we see the Jones family until the finale. Within the first 10 minutes of the finale, it's established that Tish is actually working for Harold Saxon now. She's working for the Master. Well, you know, not intentionally. But she got this position that's like, I don't know, personal assistant or something? I don't know. I don't know what she's supposed to do. She doesn't even know what she's supposed to be doing. She's basically just there so that she's easy to capture. Following that, the Master literally blows up Martha's apartment, which is lovely. And then we have Martha calling her mother, Francine. And the phone call that transpires sets off some big red flag. Because Francine tells Martha that Clive is at her apartment. That's not normal. They hate each other. They would never do that. Martha, this like, he's like, is anyone there? And Clive is the MVP of this scene. Because he's like, yeah, people are here. And he gets freaking, like, tackled. He gets, like, slammed against the wall and is, like, carted off. And so was Francine, sadly. So she tried. She did her best. She was really trying. She wasn't to know that she was being controlled by an alien psychopath. Basically, all of these three are all kidnapped. Leo is so insignificant. The master doesn't even try. He doesn't even try. We have a brief phone call where he says, I'm in Brighton. We're in Brighton. We're in Brighton with Boxer. But this is so weird because does the master not have people in Brighton? Like, alright. So Leo's down there with his ominous partner and kid. These three are all taken hostage and put on the Valiant. We're gonna go on to the last episode of the season. The master has now fully rolled out his whole plan and Martha's off walking the earth, being a queen. I honestly wish we got more interaction between like Francine and the doctor and Jack and like all these guys, but you know, we got so much time. So yes, we get the sabotage, sabotaging with all these guys. The main scene I really have a problem with in this episode is when the doctor stops Francine from killing the master. And my one question is, why would Francine listen to the doctor of all people? Like, she hates him. Did something happen in the last year that I didn't see? Like, the doctor was in a completely different part of the Valiant, and these guys were like being forced to work as like servants. It's really annoying when they put these things in, like, off screen. I think the better way they could have done this is if Martha was the one to talk Francine down from killing the master. Because we have the whole dynamic of Francine protecting Martha throughout the whole season. She's working with Harold Saxon, trying to protect Martha from the doctor. And now that Francine is, like, holding a gun and ready to kill the master, Martha is the one to protect Francine from making this mistake. The last time we see any of them is when Martha is going back to the Tardis. We see Francine through the window, and we get a little tiny bit of like acknowledgement from Francine to the doctor, but that's about it. We get a little smile. We got a little good on you, mate. Yeah, but that's about it. I think, yeah, the main ones, like, I feel that this dynamic should have been stronger, and this whole dynamic, if you can see that the doctor to Tish, needed more tension. Welcome back. Before we move on, I want to touch on writing family dynamics. Let's say you have a family unit that you're working with. You have all these characters that you know are connected somehow. The thing I want you to remember is that each of these characters have their own relationship with each other. Martha has a relationship with Tish that's different from her relationship with Leo, that's different from her relationship with Francine, and so on and so forth. And this is integral to the plot. The family is one of the most important units in a character's life. And when you have a character at the center of your story, they can be so valuable because their opinions and voices can change the narrative completely. When you're thinking about all these characters, think about how they can impact the character arc of your main character. What is the lesson that your main character has to learn, and how can these characters help them get there? Because, as we've discussed, these characters can push your main character through pointing out things that they don't notice. Now, this can take many different forms, but in this case, it is that Martha is simply just choosing to ignore the way the doctor treats her. Now, we're going to move on to the dynamic that has actually the most screen time, and that is Martha and the Doctor. The Doctor and Martha's relationship is the main dynamic we follow. And yet, there is not much progression here. We don't get a lot of development for either of them until the very, very end. Because in the actual season, Martha doesn't get really pushed to do anything. She doesn't really, like, learn anything or, like, implement what she's learned. I'd say she does learn that the Doctor doesn't like her back, but she doesn't learn that his behavior towards her is questionable or anything. She basically just accepts it for the whole season, and then right at the very end, she says, I don't want to do this anymore. So, yes, I would describe this dynamic as toxic. I described Rose and the Doctor's dynamic as codependent, and now we have Martha and the Doctor as toxic. Now, the main plot line we get in season 3 is the unrequited love plot. And that's what I'm going to be going into when we talk about this, because yeah, it went way too long. Martha doesn't get any kind of independence or acknowledgement of her intelligence. We actually have to watch like season 4 and the spin-off Torchwood to get any sense of how badass she is, which is stupid, because she's basically just downplaying herself this whole season because the Doctor's like, I have to be the smartest one in the room. We get the introduction of this dynamic when Martha and the Doctor meet fully in the hospital when it has been brought to the moon. Now, they really start out just working as equals, and I don't understand why it couldn't stay this way, because why couldn't it? They really like work together when they're like in a like dangerous situation, and then yeah, they have their whole time on the moon. They work really well together. Martha saves the Doctor's life. Queen. The Doctor and Martha meet again after Leo's birthday party, and he's like skulking in the alleyway, and we get the first introduction of the dynamic that we're going to be stuck with for the rest of the season. And that is the Doctor being an asshole, comparing Martha to Rose, and just generally being dismissive of her and just kind of treating her like a charity case or something. Yeah, so that's what we're introduced to in Smith & Jones. And this is, I don't really have anything to change here. I'm not really trying to overhaul the whole season in this video. I'm just trying to give Martha some kind of like arc of some kind. And this dynamic, I mean, it seems in character for the Doctor right now, to be honest. So we're just gonna stick with it. We get the first love interest for Martha that is not the Doctor, and that's William Shakespeare, because of course it is. Yes, so Martha has a little, like, flirtatious moment with William Shakespeare over the course of the episode. And we also get the really uncomfortable moment of the Doctor dismissing Martha's concerns about being in Elizabethan England as a woman of color, which is totally justified, but he's just like, walk around like you own the place. That works for me. Yes, sir, because you're a, like, male-presenting, like, privileged person. We also actually get the Doctor name-dropping Rose again, and this time actively, like, fully comparing Martha to Rose, and saying that Rose would have known what to say. Did we watch the same show? Sir, like, I don't think the Doctor really, like, acknowledged who Rose was in the actual show. Not in my rewrite of the last video. Go check that out. I don't think he really knows who Rose was, because she would not know what to do. She was following him around like a puppy. She would have no clue. Martha would actually know what to do more than Rose. So, make it make sense, sir. In the next episode, Martha literally calls herself the Doctor's rebound. She's self-aware. Not self-aware enough to get herself out of the situation, but hey, she's self-aware. So that's good. She makes this comment and just kind of throws it out the window. She doesn't actually do anything about it. She's like, oh, I'm your rebound. Alright, during this episode, we have another bit of tension thrown into the mix where the doctor lies to Martha about Gallifrey still existing, which I feel like this is super duper weird, because introducing another reason the doctor doesn't trust Martha is just, it's too much. It's like, we get it. He doesn't value her. Like, we already know this. It's like we need him to be lying about everything now too. Like, do you want me to hate this man? Because I already do. We get the explanation of the Time War to Martha, and we have something of a character arc for this season. I'm just gonna lightly brush on this because we have the unrequited love plot, and through the season we have like Martha learning her self-worth and stuff, but it's not that prominent. With this like lying plot line, it feels weird because it feels like it's introducing another lesson for Martha to learn. If you're setting up a character arc, do one at a time. Not at the same time. No. Because then it gets like all messy, and this episode, I love this episode on its own, but when I look at it like as part of the season, it's kind of infuriating because it literally takes us out of the like unrequited love plot for a second and goes, oh, but he's lying to her too. So what do we think of that? And it's just like, here's another issue for reasons, and it's pretty much only set up because the next episode, I believe, is the Dalek two-parter, and so we need the setup of Martha knowing who the Daleks are, which, okay, sure. I mean, there seems to be a lot of episodes in this season that are just set up of mythology so that Martha knows what is going on. Sure. It seems a little strange, but guess you do what you gotta do. Speaking of, let's move on to the Dalek two-parter. Now this one I don't actually have any problems with. I think it's pretty solid. We have the Doctor and Martha in New York City during the Depression. We have the Daleks, we have evolution of the Daleks, and we have the Daleks take Manhattan the other way. We get Martha piecing things together on her own, which is always fun because she is a queen and super duper smart. We also get one of the, we have now seen the Doctor and Martha like twice separated from each other. I like it when they're not together. I like it when they're like not in each other's vicinity because they just kind of like bring each other down, or more like he brings her down. And she saves the Doctor again, which I think this is like number 3 or 4. I think she's saved his life like 3 or 4 times now. She's doing the work. There's one moment that I thought was really funny and is actually pretty consistent with the like toxic dynamic we got going on here. And that's when like they're trapped in the theater and the Doctor's like, Frank can take you back to Hooverville. I don't know what accent this is, but roll with it. Frank can take you back to Hooverville. And then Martha's like, I'm not going. He's like, Martha, that's an order. She's like, what are you then? Some kind of Dalek? Well, actually, I'm like, was that okay? I don't know. But that was iconic, and I love that for her. I wish we had her snap back at the Doctor more. Like, what's that make you then? Some kind of Dalek? It's a good two-parter. I like it. We are back at the Lazarus experiment. As we talked about with the Jones unit, this is when Tish tells Martha that she tries to wake her up to the situation. So we still get that. At the beginning of the episode, we have the Doctor dropping Martha back home in 2007 London? 2007? I think so, yeah. For this new character arc, I want the self-centered aspect of the Doctor to be turned up to 11. We're gonna dial it up all the way up. Because now that we have established that we're seeing things mainly through Tish's point of view, we need to dial it up. I need to hate this man with every fiber of my being. And we need to see it in like 4K, 6K, I don't care, 8K. Yeah. I want to see the Doctor brush Martha off even more. I want him to not take her for granted, not care that he's putting her in danger, all that stuff. And this is when things start to splinter and crack, shifting their relationship even more. And as we discussed, this is when Tish sees the interaction and tells Martha. The episode is a turning point for their dynamic, and yes, beautiful. Love it. And I wish that's what we got. So 42, not much happens. We get more interactions between the Doctor and Martha. We get Martha saving the Doctor for third or fourth time at this point. She's just saving him at every possible situation. It's like, yeah, I mean, she's just killing it, but not literally. The Doctor gives Martha a key to the Tardis, which is like a reward for saving his life 4 times. Wow. But yeah, she's official now. She is official. She is in the club. We are moving on to a 2-parter that is both significant and insignificant at the same time. This 2-parter I am going to be talking about on its own. So throughout the 2-parter, which is Human Nature and Family of Blood, the Doctor is out of commission. We only see him in a few flashbacks, and so we don't really get anything here. We don't get any dynamic development or anything. The only thing I will say is that we spend way too much time on these two. I'll get more into that when we actually dive into them a little bit more. But what we needed was more Martha. We needed more of her. More of, this was a perfect opportunity for this dynamic to shift, because the Doctor is out of commission, which gives Martha time to think about what Tish said, and also think about what all this is. What's their relationship? And yeah, that's very important. Give your characters time to breathe and time to think. Because, yeah, this is just kind of wasted time. It's not really doing anything for us. By the end of the 2-parter, I would want Martha to let go of the unrequited love plot. I want her to cut it off. She's like, nope, this isn't serving me. I ain't doing it. And this is a point I want to make, where your characters don't always have to be relatable. They can be aspirational. They can really show people to examine their relationships and really think about, is this good for me or not? Because this right here, toxic. This is toxic as hell. And yes, by the end of that 2-parter, I want Martha to let go of it and move on, which leads us, or at least get further. She's on the track. So she's come to the realization of her situation. Moving into Blink, we get a handful of scenes with these two. And one of the main things I want to point out is the dynamic we see through the Easter egg videos. And we only see Martha for a few seconds in it, but it really gives the idea that Martha is getting fed up with the Doctor. And she's like, I have to take care of this guy in the past. I am stuck in the past again, and I have to work in a shop. I'm a medical student. Why am I doing this? And so yeah, that really gives us a taste of where Martha's head is at, which I really like. And I don't think Blink needs to change at all. Masterpiece. Love it. Just everything else around it needs to change. Utopia. Sees the Doctor and Martha for the first time traveling without the unrequited love plot. We are finally free. There is no romantic tension. With this new character arc, Martha has let go of the fantasy of being with the Doctor, and as a result really stands her ground more. In the episode itself, we get some interesting moments. The main one being when Martha discovers the Professor's fog watch and goes to tell the Doctor. Now in this scene, Martha's just, conveying information. But the Doctor, once he gets the necessary information, he fully flips. He is losing it. And he fully yells at Martha. Okay, this moment, if they had the build-up, it could be so good. Because we could still have the Doctor yelling at Martha, but that there's that look. There is the look. After the Doctor yells at Martha, she's like, the fuck? Why are you yelling at me, bro? Yeah, she gives a look where it's like, this is not what I expected. And I think this would be even better if we had the whole, like, letting go of the unrequited love plot, because this would emphasize, like, Martha's internal monologue where she's like, this is the guy that I was, like, infatuated with. Am I okay? She's like, ugh, nope, not for me. That's the main thing that I think would benefit so much from the plot that I have proposed. Moving on to the finale, we get a lot of Doctor and Martha moments in the first episode of the finale. So, okay, we get the Doctor basically not communicating with Martha at all. And really, I think the finale can basically stay the same. The main change is that Martha has let go of her feelings for the Doctor, and this becomes more present in, like, the interactions with Jack. We have the Master blowing up Martha's house, we have her whole family except for Leo being kidnapped by the Master, and the Doctor really does not acknowledge all the things he's putting Martha through. And this is something that I think should have been pointed out. We never have, like, a moment between these two where the Doctor actually acknowledges what he's putting Martha through. He just does not care about her at all, and I hate it. Because, like, I feel their relationship could have benefited from, like, an actual sit down, like an actual heart to heart about something. Martha's whole family has been kidnapped by an alien psychopath who's only targeting them because Martha knows the Doctor. Like, sir, apologize, please. And so we get to the end of the episode, we get all of them going onto the Valiant, and we get the Doctor sending Martha to roam the Earth and spread a story, spread a gospel or something. And yeah, that's the end of the first part of the finale. Moving on to the final episode, the last of the Time Lords. Now we have Martha Jones. We have Martha Jones, the woman who walked the earth. Now, we don't get a lot of interactions between Martha and Doctor, and I'm really only going to talk about Martha on her own and how this new arc is going to impact her character in regards to the Doctor, because he's pretty much, like, incapacitated. And so we've got Martha walking the earth, spreading the story of the Doctor being, like, amazing and stuff. But in this version, I'm going to propose that with the new arc, she is not doing that. Well, she is walking the earth, but she is not spinning the story of the Doctor being this saint. Now, I have two options for this. I have either she just basically says that the Doctor is at the same level as the Master. He's the only one who can, like, really stop him. Something like that. And, or she does tell the story of him being, like, some kind of saint, but admits to someone, maybe Tom, could be, that it's all lies. Like, it's an exaggeration or something. Like, he's not that great. He's kind of annoying. The scenes for Martha in this episode are kind of meh. They're okay. They're just, like, action-packed. We got her being badass in the purple top. And so we have the whole, I think it's like the first half hour, first 20 minutes of the episode of Martha just, like, going around the world, meets Tom, has a good time. So what I'm really going to talk about here is the ending scene for Martha. We're going to talk about when she leaves the TARDIS, and specifically the explanation she gives for why she's leaving the TARDIS, because it's so infuriating. Now, when Martha talks to the Doctor about leaving the TARDIS, the explanation she gives is that she really adored him, really loved him, but he never liked her back. This has me screaming at my computer, because Martha, my queen, that is not the problem. The issue is that he never treated her with respect or consideration until he absolutely had to. yes, that would be a lot better, because I think it would actually lead into the character development we get for the Doctor after Martha leaves. When we meet the Doctor again in Partners in Crime, we don't really get any real development for him on the Titanic episode. He's just kind of wandering. But when we meet him again in Partners in Crime, he is like, he's different. He's like, he doesn't want to lead anybody on or anything. He's being more considerate with Donna, and yeah, he's doing better. And I think having Martha call him out on this behavior would be very beneficial. I think it would help him. I think he'd be even better. Okay, so moving on to the Tardis trio, which is Martha, Jack, and the Doctor. And in case any of you are unaware, Jack is Captain Jack Harkness, and this guy is a character from season 1. He got introduced in The Empty Child, and after season 1 became immortal due to Rose like looking into the time vortex and bringing him back to life, but accidentally bringing him back forever. So that's the recap. Jack comes back by literally hugging the TARDIS through the time vortex, and they end up in like who knows where at the end of the universe. Martha and Jack have a fun dynamic. These two, I think, I wish we had more of them, to be honest. I wish they had more scenes together, because they both, as we learn later in Sound of Drums, they both have had or have unrequited feelings for the Doctor. This dynamic really only starts to take shape in Sound of Drums when they're like all on the road and running. I don't think, we only get like a few really cool, like maybe actually only one really interesting scene between the trio, which is when like they're doing all the perception filter stuff, and we get like the Doctor saying, it's like when you fancy someone and they don't even know you exist. And I think this would be a really funny moment to have Martha like acknowledge that she used to have feelings for the Doctor and is like, not anymore. And she looks at Jack and he's like, okay. It's like, what? Or he goes like, you too? And she goes, not anymore. And just kind of like swaggers off. I'm like, queen. So yeah, I think that would be really good. Just saying, I would be very, that's my new headcanon that Martha said that, and I'm here for it. Now we don't see the Doctor and Jack for most of the last episode. And this because they're both on the Valley, and we're mainly following Martha. We don't actually see Jack for a lot of it. The only scene we get between the trio in the last episode is when we have the face of Bo theory revealed, that Jack is actually the face of Bo because of his immortality, which, whatever, it's fine. So yeah, we have the big farewell. I wish there was like a moment between Martha and Jack though. I want more moments between these two. Okay, so now let's talk about these guys. Now, when I was writing this down, I did refer to them as the useless plotline, and that's because they really are. I don't really understand the point of this whole storyline, mainly because the Doctor is not there. He's not involved beyond like 2 or 3 scenes, and so we get John Smith and Joan, which are characters that we're supposed to be attached to but know we're gonna lose within like 2 episodes, so it feels very pointless. It's a good episode like on its own, but I feel like it's more of a special than like putting it into like the middle of a season. And especially once Martha's just become a like full-time companion, it feels odd to separate her from the Doctor this much. And yeah, we don't get any progression for her relationship with the Doctor, which again should have happened with her thinking about their relationship, but she doesn't do any of that. We get really uncomfortable interactions with this trio because they're in 1912 and they're both kind of ignorant, and so yeah, it's just, there's no point. I don't understand why this should happen. I don't feel like it progresses Martha's storyline in any way. It would have made sense if they were actually helpful in any sense. If the interactions we had between John and Martha, or Joan and Martha, gave her any kind of perspective, but they don't, so why is this here? It's just there because they needed to introduce the chameleon arch for the reveal in Utopia. That's about it. That's all this is here for. It's just for mythology dumping. Okay, now the dynamic that I did plan to print out was the dynamic between Martha and Tom Mulligan, played by Tom Ellis, which I forgot to do. Martha and Tom is an odd relationship because they meet in the apocalypse, quite literally. And Martha's like doing her big trek across the world. She's like doing her little road trip, and Tom's there, like, they meet up, he helps her travel a bit more. And I wish we had more of these two, like any kind of scene that would help us understand why they like should be endgame. Because as we learn later, Martha actually gets engaged to Tom, but in the like Sound of Drums, or what episode is it? I think it's Last of the Time Lords. In Last of the Time Lords, we don't really get a sense that they really connect past like we're in an apocalypse, so we're holding on to each other for dear life. Doesn't really seem like it's more than that, or more than like, oh, he literally died for me, but in a stupid way, so why does it matter? I think it would have been really interesting if we did get like a scene between Martha and Tom where Martha goes into like what she's experienced with the doctor, and it's like, oh yeah, that was all pretty messed up. And it kind of like, she really starts to vocalize like everything that she's been going through in regards to the doctor. Martha and Tom, don't understand why they were together, because why? We didn't get any basis of why they should be together. We know that he's still alive when like time resets, but they didn't really have any solid connection in the apocalypse, so why would they connect more when there's not an apocalypse? So, to conclude, when you're looking at your characters, I challenge you to think about how their dynamics can impact the plot. If you have a character arc already in mind, think about how these characters can help your main character learn the lesson. If you don't have a character arc already in place, try and form these characters more, like, fully, because then you might start to get ideas of what they can teach your main character. Like, if you had a character dynamic like the Doctor and Martha, then what kind of lesson would you want your main character to learn from that relationship? Also, look at what kind of dynamics you like. I think studying shows you like, and looking at your favorite ships, or looking at just your favorite characters in general, can really help to get the creative juices flowing. So take a look at all the stories that you enjoy and the ones that really like make you feel an emotion, and then start to put that like into your stories. Now, that is it for this week's class. Your homework is to like this video and subscribe. And I will be back next week with my first video on the 60th anniversary specials. I am hoping to do a video for each special, providing I have enough thoughts, providing there's enough wrong with them. No, I might do positive videos if I do actually really like it. But I will come back with a new video about the Star Beast next week. Until then, keep writing. Bye!